Let's see if it starts streaming from the very start or if it's going to ask YouTube to do the thing. It's streaming from the start, people. Let's fucking go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. Today, we are going to talk about our wonder boy, Kobbie Mainoo, and where his future lies at Manchester United. And you know what? If we've got a little bit of time towards the end, we'll discuss the other news stories. We've been linked with a midfield Dortmund gem. I'll tell you all about him and what type of player he is. Jarrad Branthwaite signs a new deal or is just about to sign a new deal with Everton. How do we feel about that? Would you still take him at the club? And also, there's some interesting few little bits in regards to new Premier League rules and halftime interviews and cameras in the dressing room and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of splitting the kind of opinions a little bit amongst the football kind of crowd. So we'll talk about that towards the end, but the main story is for a while now I feel like we've needed to have a kind of conversation about Kobbie Mainoo, whether it's me and you guys watching or just in general. It seems to be, and some people like it quiet. There's already a comment in there that I can see that he stays quiet and he evolves and he progresses, and that's absolutely fine, and I understand it. You don't want all the media's attention on Mainoo and what's going to happen and blah blah blah, kind of like how it happened through his come up, right? Like everything was on him, like he absolutely rocketed to the top, and maybe that's gone against him a little bit. The fact there was so much hype, the fact he's straight into the England squad, became a pretty prominent figure in that midfield when we were playing in quarterfinals, semi-finals, and final, because we had such an issue. Is it going to be Gallagher? Is it going to be Trent? And then Mainoo came into it under Ten Hag. He was flourishing. He just looked like this absolute gem, right? And do you know what? Sometimes when you skyrocket so high, you have a little bit of a dip. I felt like last season was a little bit of a dip for Mainoo. I think we can all kind of agree on that. Now, his current contract situation, according to Capology, he's got 3 years remaining on his contract, so it's going to expire, 2 years. It's going to expire in 2027. He's been in talks with Manchester United for a while now over a new one. We had news a few months ago that was a little bit sensationalist, saying that he's not signing it, which means he's definitely going to leave. And you've got clubs like Chelsea who are sharking around this deal, who will definitely sign him, given his age profile and his ability. And last season, I think he played around 19 games in the Premier League. So half a season he had under Ruben Amorim. Obviously, we had the change of manager halfway through as well, which definitely didn't help any of the players. And the fact that it was such a terrible season as well on top of that, I mean, it was just like one big giant pile-on. So you can understand the lack of consistency from above affected the players on the pitch. Now, I'm not giving anyone an excuse, but you go to any business, working place, and those things happen. There is going to be a patchwork of inconsistency. Now, he missed around 17 games as well last season. He had a couple of muscle injuries. I'm not sure what the specific ones were. I think one of them was a knee, and maybe one of them was a calf. People in the chat tell me any different, if you know. But that's why he missed a good chunk of the games, around 17 to 19 games out with muscle injuries. In Amorim's system, obviously under Ten Hag, which I'll get into specifically, his positional play and a load of other details. Under Ruben Amorim, he's played in, if you call it double pivot, whatever it is you want to call it, he's played in that alongside Manuel Ugarte mostly, who's more of a kind of player who puts fires out, and he also played in kind of the left side 10, right side 10 around the end. I think he played false 9, didn't he, in one of the games? Everyone was like, Mainoo starting up top. What on earth? And that experiment clearly didn't work. So he's played in a couple of positions. Amorim's trying to tinker and kind of, work out where he's going to be best. And that's the conversation that I want to have today. And also ask your opinion. Where do you think it's going? Where is he going to get a lot of minutes next season? Where can we play him? Just look at all kind of aspects around it and have a conversation. You think last season he had 3 goals and 1 assist. Now, he's never been a prolific goal scorer from deep, who's a player who gets loads of assists. Maybe that will come with a bit of time, right? But I still think his output could be much better. So let's just start off with what is Kobbie Mainoo really, really good at. Elite ball control, press resistant, calm tempo whenever he's on the ball, carries the ball through midfield lines, composed in transitions, positional awareness, and composure in front of goal when the opportunity arises, whether it's the Wolves game, whether it's the Liverpool game, and the other goals that he scored then as well. But what is he not good at? Not yet physically dominant, really, when you look at some of the top midfielders in the Premier League. Still learning how to command tempo consistently, wherever it is he is on the pitch, But again, he's 20 years old. That is going to come with time. He needs to develop a bit more of a goal threat, which I've already spoke on. And he doesn't really seem to thrive in man-marking systems or high vertical systems where it's quick. For me, he seems more of a possession-based player. He likes a bit more control. Can I play this sound? I don't know if you'll hear it. This is what Chivy likes. Will that play? Oh, it won't play because there's no audio. If I put it on, it will, though. Oh, is that playing? I don't know. I don't have headphones on, so I don't know if it's playing or not. I'm just going to presume it is. If it did, it did. It is what it is. So, yeah, he's not physically dominant yet. He's not off the ball. He needs to improve quite a lot. He needs to be a bit more tenacious. Now, some people will question, can you improve that? Or are some people athletically, it's just built with him, because when you look at the kid, in terms of size and, shredded, he looks athletic, but it's more the pace off the ball, recovery runs and things like that, which Ruben Amorim has touched on before. So, under Erik ten Hag, he played more as kind of a roaming 8, didn't he? Or whenever he was in kind of the double pivot, whether it was alongside Casemiro or Amrabat or whoever it was. Ten Hag gave him that kind of freedom and trusted him and allowed him to kind of drop deep if he needs to, build up, carry the ball through the lines, choose kind of when and pick when to kind of join attacks. And on that left side, that's for me, that always seemed like where he did his best business. You think of all the good goals that he scored, the ones I alluded to before and referenced, the Liverpool game, the Wolves game, 9 times out of 10, it would be in that left side, in that left channel, probably where Cunha's going to play, around the edge of the box. I think he did his best work there. How do you get that in a Ruben Amorim system? Because under Ruben Amorim, you need midfielders who can play quick vertical passes. You've got the 2 pivots who there's a lot of demand on them to cover ground, to cover a lot of grass, cover wide channels, win second balls, a lot of dynamic movement off the ball as well. Like, it's completely different to how it was under Erik ten Hag. And you've got a system where decisions need to be really, really quick and positional play is a lot more rigid. So how does he improve in that? Because you're getting less time on the ball, more structured channels, transitional speed over deep build-up control, and he's not aggressive enough at the minute. So what we're kind of hoping is he can build that off-the-ball ability to be combative enough so you can play him in there in the big games. Because I think sometimes when he has, I feel like he gets caught out quite a bit off the ball. And I don't know, I'm not licensed enough, or obviously I'm not a coach to know enough whether he can develop that side of it. Ruben Amorim watches him closely. He seems to really, really like him and seems to think he can. So, the coach has got faith in him. I've got faith in him anyway. I think he's a super talented player, and I think it would be such a huge failure if we didn't get the best out of him. For academy product to come through like him, like he is a special, special talent. So where do we fit him in this system? I mentioned before, I've said this on multiple shows. You can go back and look at it. If Amorim can tweak this system somehow, so if you can add a third midfielder, for example, you switch to a 3-5-2, similar to what Brentford play, and you can use Mainoo potentially as more like a Bernardo Silva kind of player who can float in between, more of a controller, deep lying link at times, flexible, can move across the pitch. And you have, I don't know, maybe Bruno and Casemiro along, more of like a, not Bruno, Casemiro, so Bruno, Ugarte, Mainoo, let's say, in the midfield as a triangle. Maybe that could work, I don't know. Maybe you can evolve into the left-sided pivot alongside the destroyer, but the thing is, at the minute, it seems like Bruno Fernandes is staying at Man United, so he is going to play in that position majority of games. And he's consistent, and he plays week in, week out. He played third most minutes in Europe last season. I think he played around 5,000 minutes or somewhere kind of around that ballpark alongside Valverde and Dalot. He's uber consistent, so he will be playing in that midfield role. Now, the partnership who plays alongside him, in my guess, will probably be Ugarte for the majority of the time. So if you tweak your system, that allows you to bring Mainoo into that, but then obviously you have to forfeit an attacker. But would it be the worst thing in the world at the minute, considering we don't have a number 9? I know we're probably going to buy one, but that's not definite at the minute. It seems like we're getting Mbeumo in, we're getting Cunha in. So if you do switch to a 2-striker system, you play Mbeumo and Cunha up top, you drop Mainoo into the midfield alongside Bruno and Ugarte, it could work. It could work. The other option, obviously, is as a 10. And I'll get into that in a second. But let's see what everyone else is thinking. I'm rambling on here. Charlie's saying Mainoo's quiet. He wins by being quiet. He's English. United need 8 players from Great Britain. I hope he comes good. James McGrogan in the chat as well, who's changed his name, which is interesting, saying, sup, Nick. Sup to you, brother. Hope you're good, man. Suvic saying the dip is also because of insane minutes he was made to play under Erik ten Hag. His injuries were also a direct consequence of that. Spot on, Suvic. Absolutely spot on. Random saying, hope everyone is in good health. You as well, brother. I hope you're good. Shakura saying, hi. Don't you think if we can buy Visser from Brentford, because he and Mbeumo have a great understanding and make our front line very good? I think Brentford have been picked apart enough, to be honest with you. They've had the manager go, and Mbeumo's gone. Norgard's going to Arsenal. So, yeah, it's not... I don't think that they want to get rid of Visser as well. They might actually end up killing us, Brentford, if we take him. Charlie Malman, not sure about good health. I have washed all the floors and I feel like I've run a marathon. Brian's in the chat saying, hi, Nick. I think he'll be used as a backup 10. He's too good technically and not strong enough to be playing as a 6. I'll speak about him as a 10 in a minute. Debas saying, for hybrid position, Mainoo needs to build himself like Traore. He's not far off, to be honest. Well, maybe off Traore, but if you actually look at him, especially going into this pre-season now, like the guy is shredded. I'm not worried about Mainoo so far. He's shown that he's mature, professional, and level-headed. I have no doubt he'll break into the team again. He can play anywhere he wants. He's that good. It's nice to see people aren't worried. Sam's in the chat. Everyone go check out Brian's interview with Sean Connolly after Nick finishes. I'll certainly check that out myself. Nick, do you think now Mainoo's had regularity in the team, would him getting less minutes and pressure to develop making him happy? United need to be aware of the potential. Yeah, look, I think that the general consensus or the opinion of him at the minute is he needs to play week in, week out. And maybe most players would demand that, especially even at an age like, look at Garnacho, for example. Like, he feels like he should be playing every minute of every fucking hour, and when he doesn't, he sulks. Mainoo doesn't seem to have that sulking nature, does he? Not to say that he doesn't want to play games. Of course he does. Every footballer does. But I almost feel like Ten Hag playing him so much is almost a detriment to him, isn't it? I don't know if that's the right even phrase to say. I'm not smart enough to say that. It just feels like it's hindered him a bit because the expectation went woof. And this is what I'm saying about he's rocketed into like the media, into images, into England, into United. And at a club like United, it can be used against you sometimes. And the expectation comes here. But he's a young player. He's 20 years old. He still scored against Man City in an FA Cup final, scored the winning goal, played for England in semi-finals and finals. Like, he's achieved a lot more than what some Premier League players have done all their life. So there needs to be balance. I think that's the best thing. But the best thing about Kobbie is as well, he is a balanced player. He has that composure about him, whether it's on the pitch or whether it's in his personal life or whether it's just him as a player. That is just him in a nutshell. Now, someone mentioned the 10 position before. He has played there a few times, but there are a couple pros and cons in my opinion. So playing in that 10 with Mainoo, you know he's technically clean. You know he's got composure, good ball carrier, good off-the-ball intelligence, right? They are the qualities that you can kind of attach when he plays in that role. And we've seen it a few times. He actually looked quite good. Kind of taking on players, receiving it on the half turn. However, he is not what you would describe as a natural final third killer. He doesn't constantly attack the box. His pressing off the ball from the front isn't amazing. You think about the difference between Mainoo and Mbeumo and Cunha. There's quite a difference in terms of intensity and what Amorim demands from those inside 10s. I think you would get more control with Mainoo, but you get more flair and creativity with Mbeumo or Cunha or Bruno or whoever it is who plays in that role. So it's all a case of what do you personally want from those inside 10 roles? Let's ask you. Forget Amorim, forget coaches, forget whatever. What do you like in that position and why? Sounds like a dodgy question, doesn't it? Talk to me, people. He doesn't, because he had the midfield options to not make us have to play him every game and gas him out. Bloody ads. We'll take a look, Sam. Christian Jules, remember Mainoo started his career as a number 9, so he can do a great job as a false 9. We tried him in the false 9, and from what I remember, didn't do great. Not saying he can't develop into that role, but didn't do great at all. And this is why I'm saying the tweak of system. I won't be opposed to it. 3-5-2, I keep mentioning it. Trust me. And maybe you might do it in pre-season. Maybe you might do it or have it as an option. You don't have to be so rigid in your approach. You can be flexible. Thomas Frank is incredible at that. Yes, predominantly he would play, let's say, with a 3-5-2. But you'd see him switch to a 4-2-3-1. You'd see him sometimes switch to a 4-3... a 3-4-3. Like, he would tweak it sometimes based on the opponent. Graham Potter would do it with Brighton as well when he was there. You don't have to be so rigid. Maybe Amorim thinks different. He knows a lot more about football than me. So the final verdict on Mainoo, before we get into the other stories, there are a couple of options here. One, evolve into the left side pivot and be trusted as that guy to kind of carry, connect, and control the ball. Or you could be a left-sided 10 at times and maybe play less minutes. But when we want a more stable team in possession, when we're maybe playing against a team at a low block, he can come into that role, and you know, I think he fits that a lot more than against some of the bigger teams. But will he be happy with that? We've got this contract situation at the minute. I personally think I'm worried because I don't think he's going to get the game time that he wants. Will that sway him away from United? I don't know, because he loves the club. Obviously, he's from Manchester. He wants it to work out there. He's already had a hell of a ride, and he's been playing for 2 professional seasons. So I am a little bit worried, but I think he's talented enough to be successful at United. And I think we are on, despite where we finished last season, because I know it was horrific, I do feel like there is a project that's being presented to players there that they can believe in, because the young players that they're bringing through, Heaven looks exciting, Chido looks exciting, Yoro looks exciting, Sekou Kone, all the other ones that are coming through, like the building for the future, but then also the additions that they've made to the start of this season. I know Mbumo's not done yet, but it's basically done. Cunha and Mbumo are proven killers in the Premier League. So adding that to it as well, like there is, I would imagine there's probably excitement going forward, right? I think certainly excitement from my end, and I know there's a lot of other people like yourselves who have spoken about it, like for the future. So if you can convince him with that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the contract situation is going to work out, if they're going to end up paying him 200 grand a week. I don't know. I don't know how they balance that, but it seems like Ineos are really keen to bring that down and not give out silly contracts, so you don't end up in situations like we are with Mason Mount or Casemiro. So they'll have to sort that, but I do think they'll come to an agreement. As far as I'm aware, they haven't come to an agreement. There was a bit of news. I know Romano was reporting a good few weeks ago about his contract. So as far as I'm aware, it's not done or anything yet, but he's eager to get a new one. And let's just see if they can kind of come to an agreement, because that midfield situation at the minute, everyone's talking about the striker, everyone's talking about the goalkeeper, everyone's talking about the inside 10s. The midfield seems to be a little bit neglected at the minute, and this is where the next news story comes in. So we have been linked with a German midfielder who plays for Borussia Dortmund called Felix Nmecha. I think that's how you say his name. Probably butchering the translation, butchering the pronunciation. Knowing me, I probably am. But Felix Nmecha, I think is how you say it. And this is coming from CF Bayern, so Christian Falk. Good links in Germany, but sometimes briefed by agents to get a name out there to generate a bit of excitement. Typical in the journalistic world. Now, I had a look at his scout report, known for his ability to both maintain possession and break up play, as well as his strong physical presence and technical ability. He developed under Pep Guardiola, so he came through Man City's academy, had 3 appearances for City, and then moved to Germany. I think he played for Wolfsburg, and then he went to Borussia Dortmund. They signed him when they got rid of Jude Bellingham, hoping he can kind of step into that role. Now, what was interesting, the coach at Dortmund at the time, so Nuri Sahin, after a game against Leipzig, says he has to take the next step, which is understanding when he can take risks. Then we would have a really top player for years to come. He could play in defensive midfield, in the middle, or as a number 10. Those are the kind of midfielders that you dream of, so extremely versatile. He's also played international football for Germany, so he's got a couple of caps there. And if you're looking for a comparison, if you say, Nick, what kind of player is he? I've never heard of him. So this is why I've done the research. So a close comparison, what I'm reading from a lot of reports coming out in Germany, is very similar to Leon Goretzka. So athletic, powerful, box-to-box engine, those kind of late surging runs into the final third. But his end product, defensive work, ball security, and experience is still a little bit raw. And that's where you ask the question with this team at the minute. Do you want to sign a raw player in the midfield who needs a little bit of work, or do you want experienced steel with quality? I know which one I would rather have. I'll let you guys sit on that. I want a more experienced midfielder who's just quality, who's just going to do a job straight away. I'm not saying Inter Milan you should use their recruitment policy as gospel, because we all saw what happened in the Champions League final. But I wouldn't be opposed to looking in that kind of market. I mean, they signed Calahoglu on a free, and he's done wonders for them in the midfield alongside Barella, of course. I'm not saying go get a player like that, but I mean, surely there are players of that caliber, of that kind of age and experience who can do a job there. I don't know. Just a suggestion. That is what I would rather go for, because it doesn't feel like they're going to have a ginormous budget with the amount of priorities that we've got. So it seems like they're going to have to box clever. I don't see them spending £50 million on a midfielder unless we sell exceptionally well. And I don't see it, personally. I would like strength, serious pace, and a mix-up of link-up play and playmaking, and, of course, good finishing. That's from Random. Big up Random. By the way, if you want to become a real Red Ultra, like Random is, we dropped a video the other day, just me reacting basically to some crazy Sunday League moments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. A little bit different, but we try to do a variety of different ones. Just as a thank you, it's not like a promotion thing or anything. Just as a thank you to people who've been members. I mean, there's been some members that have been a part of it for fucking years. And have been loyal and have been consistent. And trust me, when we're discussing merch ideas at the minute, I know we've been saying it for a hot minute, but Sam is working on it, and we're kind of collaborating ideas, and they will get priority, and they will get discounts and things like that. We'll do as much as we possibly can to give back, because we understand, obviously, it's a couple of quid a month, but you're still going out of your way to pay for the membership. So, yeah, it's just nice to see people supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel, click the join button next to the notification bell, become a member. We really appreciate all you guys, even just people just tuning in and supporting. Likewise, it's really nice of you. So yeah, maybe he didn't have Cunha and Bumo to help his game. Debis saying less matches this season, perfect time to work on the areas lacking in improving them. I agree with that. Suvik saying my concern is that we have too many midfield players who shoot a midfield 3 rather than Amorims 2. Yeah. Pat May, it would be a tragedy if Mainoo moved on. He's a gem that we need to keep for this new project. Loads of comments. Still think it's worth waiting until next summer and go for Wharton. Don't know if we'll be able to agree due to financials and contracts and stuff. Wharton's a tricky one, isn't it? But I do really, really like him. I think he would be top priority for me. But he's going to be so expensive. So expensive. Right, sorry. Back to other news. So let me know what you think about that midfielder if you've watched him. You know, Nmecha's kind of one of those names. He's thrown up there by a German journalist. I wouldn't read too much into it personally, but he's putting it out there, so take it for what you will. In other news, Everton are in advanced talks to over a new deal for Jarrad Branthwaite, improved salary and longer deal on the table. He is someone who splits opinion. Again, I really, really rate Jarrad Branthwaite. I think he's powerful, quick, good on the ball, but the price tag that Everton were asking for, no one's going to pay £70 million. And when you look at a certain French young centre-back that we've just signed from Lille, you kind of give credit to that theory. Why would someone go pay 70 mil for Branthwaite? We just paid 50 for Euro. I know it's a lot, but he looks like a fucking player, doesn't he, Euro? He looks like a top talent. So when you're weighing it up, you kind of like, it was worth paying 50 for Euro. So Everton kind of know that maybe they did price him out of a deal. Branthwaite seems happy there. They're going to extend it. And also as well, it always felt like a Dan Ashworth kind of signing. And now obviously Dan Ashworth is pissed off. Different thought process with recruitment with Wilcox and Omar at the helm, I would suggest. So yeah, but I do like him as a player, and I'm not going to lie to myself. When I watch him for Everton, I think in a Ruben Amorim system, in that left-sided channel, I think he would do a really, really good job. I think we need physicality there, we need pace, and we need someone who's decent on the ball. And I think he's all three. I think he can improve on the ball, but I've always been a fan of him. But I know other people don't rate him. I know there are people in the chat who don't rate him, and I know there are lads on the channel who don't necessarily rate him as highly as I do. But that's fine, because football is all about opinion. Jarrad Branthwaite, people, yes or no? Obviously, it's not going to happen now, so it's not a case of would you sign him, because it won't. He's signing a new deal. But did you like him? Would you have took him at United? Do you appreciate what he's done for Everton? Or when you watch him for Everton, should I say not what he's done, because you're not Everton fans. Talk to me about Jarrad Branthwaite. Branthwaite is all right, just not 70 million all right. I think that's the big agreement. Some people don't rate him as a player, but whichever way you look at it, no one's paying £70 million for him. No one. So yeah, I get it. I will happily be in the minority with this, but I do rate him as a player, and I do think he'll. if it wasn't for Mark Guehi, he'd probably be playing centre-back for England right now. But I think Mark Guehi is obviously better than him. And he's someone who, again, you look at Liverpool are probably going to buy for around 50, 60 million. Less than what Everton were asking for Branthwaite. And Mark Guehi is a better centre-back. So, yeah, it's weird, isn't it, how the market works? Genuinely. Really, really weird. Just the Premier League in general, the prices that get chucked about for certain players, it's just fucking mental. So, in actual fact, on reflection, when you look at the Mbeumo and Cunha deal, I think in years to come, you'd be like, that was a good deal. 150 grand a week, £60 million for both players there or thereabouts. In today's market, I think that's pretty good. Given their output, what they've done in the league, and someone like Mbeumo's experience. I think decent deal. Anything more, you start getting 70 million territory, like, nah, I'm not sure. Anything less is like a fucking bargain. So, yeah, Premier League players seems to be the route at the minute, and Jarrad Branthwaite is another one of them. Speaking of the Premier League, now for the last 5 minutes, this is going to be a story that we discuss. This is coming out from The Telegraph. So, as part of US-style innovations in the Premier League, camera operators will be allowed to enter the field of play to capture close-up footage of goal celebrations and will be granted access to changing rooms, but not while managers are delivering team talks. Premier League TV coverage will also feature touchline interviews with substituted players for the first time next season. And you know what? The first thing I thought of straight away, as soon as I saw that, I thought, can you imagine someone like Rashford or Garnacho when they're in the typical sulking mode? More Garnacho at the minute. Or Ronaldo when he got subbed off and he'd be throwing his boots about. Could you imagine a half-time interview with one of them, like, seething on the bench? You go, "You're right, Alejandro. You know, are you happy to come off? How do you think the game went?" He'd just take the moment, wouldn't he? He'd be like the Joker, literally thinking everything's about him, and he'd take the microphone and he'd be like, give me that bitch. And here we go, listen, I deserve to play more. I'm the best player on that pitch. Who does he think he is taking me off? Ruben Amorim. Ruben who? Fuck off. I just don't think it would be good for us, to be honest with you. More media coverage of United isn't great. We've already talked about enough as it is, right? I don't want any more of that. I think for viewers specifically, they might like it, but I can only think of negatives with our club in particular. Maybe other clubs like, I don't know, Brighton, might be good for them. I have no idea. I don't think managers will want this. Definitely not. But as we've seen from previous things, managers don't really get a say in many things in football now, especially when it comes to like broadcasting or fixtures or players and managers don't get a say in it, because it's the broadcasters who are paying the big bucks, and it's the managers and the players mainly who are getting the big bucks from them. So it's kind of like, yeah, you know what I'm saying. James saying, I reckon Mark Guehi is just a bit further along, that's all. All the talk about attackers this summer, Nick. I'm just dividing the cost and wage by the amount of goal contributions expected and going off that what we would hypothetically get per pound. That is maths I am not willing to do, so fair play to you. Keep that shit in the US. The changing room should be a sacred place free of cameras. I agree, Random. But do you know what as well, Random? There will be people who completely disagree with that. There will be people who like, I want to see all access everywhere. If you think to yourselves, right, and this is a good ending point, had United have had an all or nothing Amazon documentary during Ten Hag season, during Ragnick season, during Ollie season, or even during Van Gaal season, some of the crazy shit he came out with, that would have, I'm telling you now, those viewing figures would have topped any other club at that time, because of the crazy shit that's happened. If they had an inside, like we've seen videos of Omar Barada negotiating with Man City for certain players. Can you imagine if there was clips of Murtaugh or Arnold? And let me tell you how it would go if the clip was there, right? Let's pretend this is it. You just got a call. Oh, there's an agent ringing. 1 second, let me just take this, John. Oh, cheeky. How's it going, mate? You know, a bit of a Ricky Gervais office kind of style. Yeah, top player, innit? How much? He's saying 70 million. No, we won't do that, will we? No, we'll give you 65. Now he's saying 75. Well, you know, it's a place like Disneyland. Come on, you got to do something. And then it just progressively gets worse, and we end up paying what they want anyway. I would love to see footage of Murtaugh and fucking Richard Arnold trying to string a deal together. Just panic everywhere around the office. Like, they're saying they want 85 for Anthony. Should we pay it? I don't know, John. It's your fucking job. What should we do? I don't know. Ah! And everyone's just screaming. That's basically what the documentary would have looked like. So the viewing figures would skyrocket on that more than any other club. I can fucking guarantee you that, 100%. And as my bottle falls down the side, that is the bombshell that concludes the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on 17,736 subscribers. If there is anyone new watching and you enjoy the content, please do hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 20,000 subs. For any news on Manchester United, whether it's transfer-based, whether it's there's raw chicken in the canteen, whatever it is, socials. I will put them on the screen now, all of our socials. There's Instagram, TikTok, and X. All different in their own way. But drop us a follow on there and let us know your thoughts. And also, if you want to become a member, click the join button next to the notification bell. You're all a bunch of legends. Hopefully, you've got some good plans for the weekend. We are going to reschedule an interview that we had with Sam Fonseca, Sporting Sam. Also known as, hopefully over the weekend, we're working on that. The reason why we couldn't do it today is because there was a situation that happened outside of the football world, out of our control, kind of family issue. So we kind of had to tweak it and change it over the weekend, but we've not done it on purpose. It happened out of nothing. So I'm really eager to speak to him about the Ruben Amorim situation, Gyökeres, everything. So hopefully we can get that sorted over the weekend for you. Keep an eye out for that. For just public viewers, the member video that was exclusive at the start of the week, just me reacting to the Sunday League videos. After this video, I'll put it public. So if anyone wants to go watch that, then yeah, go and enjoy it. And enjoy your weekend as well. Yeah, you're all a bunch of legends. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you in the next one.